Hello, Steven.
I'm here. We're here.
So everybody, welcome to another Proko live stream. Today we're joined by one of our favorite artists, Steven Bauman.
The eagle has landed.
You've seen him here on the channel, in his courses on Proko, and on his Patreon. Steven's going to take us through his process and kind of answer some of your questions along the way.
Process? There's not going to be any process. I promise, no process. The process is going to be a pure fire of chaos that I will unleash on my paper.
So Steven's going to teach you how to assemble a train.
You're not going to learn anything. There's going to be no learning. It's going to be me making an absolute and complete mess and seeing if I can find my way out of it in 2 hours. That's what you'll see. I promise.
That's a good skill to learn, though.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not wrong. Like, I mean, certainly there's an element of like improvisation and like finding yourself in a place that can be instructive. You know, I think that embracing a little bit of the chaos ultimately is great. I mean, you know, what do you want to make? Boring drawings? You know, like I spent 10 years learning to draw the first time and ended up feeling like, what am I even making? Like I was bored by my own drawings. And so I had to go through a lot of different processes of like growth and change. But like ultimately there's some spark of like mystery in the chaos that you want to be able to let loose in your work. And this would be a perfect example of that.
Agreed. I think
hopefully it doesn't end up like as a total mess, but that's where the jeopardy comes in. I could end up after 2 hours like with a complete dumpster fire on my hands.
It's unfair for the people here watching this live. They don't get to know, but anyone watching the VOD later, they'll just have to, they'll get to like skip ahead and find out. So don't cheat. You got to watch it in time. So yeah, today's stream is brought to you by the Proko Summer Sale. You saw that ad for in the beginning, and Steven's brand new book that's on pre-sale.
It happened. It's a thing that happened.
Yeah. So I guess we can get into it. Do you want to? Can you add your camera in the bottom in here?
Let's.
For your
I've got to present. I've got to share screen.
Yeah. For you guys in the chat here, Steven's going to be answering questions, but I need you guys to actually answer or ask questions in that chat.
That's right. We want as many questions as possible, ideally. By the way, on screen right now, you're seeing a link for a landing page. If you my book is on pre-order right now. This book right here. This is the hardcover edition. There are only going to be a few of these. So if that's something you're interested in, don't wait because it's been on pre-sale for like a few days. So there's really not a lot remaining. So if you do want it, follow that link. It'll take you to a landing page on my website, and you can go straight through to the publisher's website to purchase the book. That's where you can find it. I'll leave it on screen for a few minutes while I'm drawing, but then we'll get on to other things.
I put it in both chats here, both on Steven's YouTube channel and on our YouTube channel. So,
by the way, I want to say before we like kick off, I was in Rome teaching a workshop for a couple of weeks earlier this month, and I found this. I've never seen this before. It's a Conte a Paris, and this is a 2B. Right? It's a graphite stick. I'm telling you right now, this is darker than like a 9B. And I mean, I can show you, you know, comparisons side by side.
Yeah.
I did these tests. This is the darkest thing in graphite I've ever seen in my life. And it's only a 2B. I have a 4B as well. That's also even a little bit darker. Actually, let's start out with a 4B. So I'm going to make a mess. So let's make a mess. Let me just see like where the constraints of the camera are. So it stops here and here. So in between these two spaces, I'm going to make a horrible, horrible mess and see what happens. See if I can find my way out of it.
Oh, I like this. This is a good start to this.
This is good TV.
Making a mess. So for anyone who is asking questions here in the chat, just go ahead and start your question with a little Q in there, just so I can see it easy. And for everyone else who's in this chat, yes, it will be a VOD. If anyone asks it in there, please tell them it will be. They can watch it later. They're gonna ask it so many times.
What's a VOD?
Video on demand. It'll be there for them to watch.
Demanding this. Okay.
Yeah.
So this, by the way, this is a de facto mass drawing. Like I'm joke around a little bit and I go, it's going to be complete chaos. Like you can be chaotic and still be doing something meaningful. Something I realized, you know, actually very early on when I was a student was that like all this procedure was taught, but the procedure was there to like support an idea. And like if you had the idea, the procedure is kind of fungible. You know, like you can do a lot of different stuff inside of a concept, you know. So the concept is, you know, light and shadow. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach that.
Mm-hmm. We actually have a couple questions. I want to get this one out nice and early. Patrick was asking, does the 2B Conte graphite shine as much as regular graphite?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Listen, I'm telling you, this is like the thing that graphite artists have been waiting for. I wish, by the way, I had some kind of affiliate link, because I'm going to push this like crazy. Like, it's so good.
Do you want me to reach out to their people?
Reach out to the Conte Paris people. And it's so weird because like I didn't even know that they did graphite. I was just in this art supply shop called Poggi in Rome, and I was testing out materials because like I had students coming in from kind of around the world, and a lot of them, you know, wouldn't have the same material. So I was kind of scouting out, all right, what paper were we going to use, what materials were we going to use, and so I saw this and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. Like, I like a graphite stick. But I've never tried theirs, and I was like floored. I had no idea it worked like that.
Yeah, I usually associate them just with charcoal, personally.
Yeah, they make a kind of like, it's kind of like a compressed charcoal. Probably reminds you a lot of like General's charcoal, but probably a little bit better, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least that's my impression.
No, I agree. I think it's smoother. But we've talked about it. I have a low opinion of Generals because of one pencil set that I was given one time for Christmas. And those trash pencil sets.
We should give them like the right to reply here. We need, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like slandering them would be unfair, you know.
It's true.
But I think the Conte people they got a better product.
So we have a question from Stephen Bauman's channel's chat.
All right.
See, Rushikesh asks, when drawing a portrait, what is more important to you, catching light or catching proportion?
I think, you know what, it's a cool question just because it actually presents you like a dichotomy that you have to, you know, you can say that one of those is more important. Some people are like, oh, is it, you know, is it proportion or is it shape or is it, you know, like, actually, I think proportion is way more important than light. Although, like, you know, I think that you can combine those aims. They're not necessarily opposed to each other, but if you had to choose, you would definitely choose one rather than the other.
There's so many questions coming in. You guys are awesome. Thank you for this.
These are my people. I love them.
The question askers.
I love these are my people. These are the people who are like, yeah, I see you guys drawing, but tell them to talk to me. Tell me the secret. That's what I want.
This one is actually, this is about a Proko course, but I think you can answer this one. So Brenda in the chat is asking or stating,
you don't meet a lot of Brendas. You don't meet a lot of Brendas, do you? I mean, maybe it's the fact that I'm in Norway. I don't meet a lot of Brendas.
Yeah, I think there are less Brendas in Norway.
Maybe in like Southern California, there's a lot of Brendas.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the most common name while we're here in Norway? What do you think?
Most common woman's name. I mean, you're gonna find the Helgas. You're gonna find the. Actually, as a model, hey, convenient plug. I'm putting some model packs up on my Patreon and eventually on Proko as well. And I had a model in the studio yesterday. Took about 500, 600 images of her, and her name was Ingvild, Ingvild. So that is a Norwegian name that you can refer to. Not the most common, but it's out there. Ingvild.
It's a lot of name.
It's a lot. There's a lot to it. A lot of action in that name.
If you guys want to find out more about that Patreon, there's a link in the chat for you guys. Get it.
Oh yeah.
So the question that I've got here from Brenda is, I'm taking the drawing basics course, and I noticed that I don't draw because I suffer from fear of failure. Do you have any tips on how I can start again without feeling like I can't do it?
Well, the best thing for a fear of failure is failing. So your feelings about it won't change, except for you know, with your gathering evidence that failure is not a deterrent. I fail all the time. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of drawings that I've done that haven't turned out. I think it's just when you're starting out, failure feels like this really heavy thing. And as you get on, you just realize like failure is kind of like the price of admission, you know, like you're going to fail over and over and over again. Getting good at drawing doesn't mean you stop failing, you know, like it's just, you just kind of like make friends with it eventually. And that kind of diminishes its power. Right now it's very powerful because, you know, you're not kind of used to it, and you don't understand how frequently you'll encounter it. So I would just say, you know, spend that time failing. I mean, I would say that it's not really encouraging necessarily, but like, I mean, I know I spent my time failing. You know, I can tell you through experience that everybody does it. You know, you're certainly not alone. And that may not soften the blow, but it will at least that you know that there's like a light at the other end of the tunnel, you know, where failure just doesn't hurt so bad. You know, you just yeah, you kind of get used to it and get on with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there are a couple different ways to look at that one. Like you were saying, like the it's going to happen kind of way, even with all the preparation. But there's also the formative side of failing in something. Like it's that scientific method. You keep messing up and doing the bad things until you find the right thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So we did get a little bit more context from Proko team member Patrick Bosworth. He said the overall.
What? You got is that a new team? I haven't heard of this guy.
Oh, Patrick's fantastic. Anyone who's in the who's in any of the courses or anything in the Proko community, they'll know Patrick. He's been I think Patrick and I started pretty much the same kind of time. He's here like 4 or 5 months before me. But he said the overall accepted origin for the female name Brenda is the old Nordic male name Brander, meaning both torch and sword.
This is my guy. That's a great contribution. I really appreciate that.
Okay, so more questions. You guys are so good at questions right now. I'm so proud of you. They grow up so fast, you know?
I feel like somebody's audio just dropped out.
Was that me?
We had an audio drop out. No, all right, you there?
Okay, I am.
All right.
You scared me so much.
Jeez, man. You know,
actually,
I don't have enough to worry about with this in front of me that I got to worry about the audio too.
If at some point it happens and you lose the audio of me, I'll just hang out and type questions at you. You just keep doing what you're doing.
Doing my best, Stephen. I'm trying my best to get out of this.
I think we taken a couple questions.
Yeah,
come on. Tell us about your process. What have you got here?
What? No, I told you guys from the start, there is no process here. This is my process here is the same as my process for making mud pies when I was a kid. All right. There is no process. You just go in, you make an absolute horrible mess, and then you see if you can hold it together.
Okay. If you want more wisdom like that, you can go over to patreon.com/Stephen Bauman artwork.
This is a performance piece. When I'm teaching, I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But for this, I think like, you know, I just set it as a personal goal. I wanted to see, like, I haven't made a massive, absolute catastrophic mess in a long time. And I thought, why don't I do that in front of everybody? It sounded like a good idea at the time. I could be wrong.
I genuinely do like the idea, in all seriousness. We've got another question about where to buy Stephen's book. That's in the chat here.
Oh,
go grab that book. Actually, hold
on a second.
Do you want to show off that book? Do you want to show off that book?
Oh, do you want to do the show off? All right, come on. All right. My full screen? I'm full screen. This is the hardcover edition. You can see the TAOP on the cover here. That is the sort of insider proprietary label that we used in making the book. It's The Art of Portraiture. You can see on the, well, you can't see it on the spine. By the way, I'm going to like ruin my copy of it right now with my graphite fingers. But inside of it, let me get to a juicy, listen, all right, I worked so hard on these renders, right? We went like full Westworld. So like the whole anatomy section is filled with these like really beautiful, like kind of high res renders, describing the different kind of anatomical features, skeletal and muscular anatomy related. By the way, this, loving this. Yeah. That's just the like anatomical stuff. I also go into like a lot of kind of demoing using, you know, kind of mass drawing concepts and eventually like, you know, anatomical diagrams and studies. Anyway, it's a deep book. Let me give you the elevator pitch for the book.
Yes.
Actually, you can go back to the drawing cam because this is like going to get slightly long-winded, but I promise it will be halfway interesting. So after COVID, I didn't teach anybody in person for about like 3.5 years. I left the Florence Academy after like 15 years there. And I was just working online and moving to Norway and doing stuff like that. And after 3.5 years, this guy got in touch, David Simon, who runs this sort of school or not school really, but like a workshop space called the Rome Workshops, and said, hey, do you want to come to Rome and teach? And I was like, well, I haven't traveled anywhere in like 3.5, 4 years. Yeah, let's do it. And I had this really fresh kind of take, because I've been so far away from it for so long, on like what students really needed in a workshop. If our idea was to like make a really great, beautiful artistic portrait, you need to be like really confident to make good artistic choices. Like doing this, you're not going to be confident enough unless you've sort of gathered enough evidence about what it is to kind of make a portrait. So, by the way, I'm butchering this take, but I'm gonna persist with it. So I've got like half drawing brain going on here. What I want to say is, confidence is gained through evidence. Evidence is gained through studies. So the first half of the book, first third of the book is me going through the kind of concepts and philosophies that I think are important for a student of drawing to understand, so that they can like build the foundation for like eventually making really good drawings. Then the second phase of the book is about those studies and how to actually go through and kind of learn about the subject that you're working with, which is the human figure. So anatomy, understanding value, understanding lighting concepts, all of this. And then finally we go into making the actual final drawing or final phase of the book, which is how to make a really great artistic portrait drawing. So I called it the art of portraiture because that's what I called that course in Rome, where we took 2 weeks, and the whole first week we did just studies of the model. We did anatomical studies, we did structural studies. A lot of the stuff you find in the Block-In course was a part of that. And then we did studies of like individual features, so studies of the eyes, studies of the nose. And I basically synthesized that workshop into a book. So all the studies before you get into making like the final artwork.
Okay.
That was a terrible elevator pitch.
Oh, I was gonna say we arrived at the top floor.
My goodness.
We did it.
Oh my God. That was
no, I like the idea of this one.
I'm so sorry.
The good news for this one is, guys, if you do decide that you want to pick up this book, even with this pitch being what it was, it's only 22 pounds or $28.35 in US dollars.
That is right.
On the link here on screen or in the chat. I mean, there's some good questions. All right, do you want a question about the graphite or
come on,
about being a teacher? Graphite.
Oh, let's do graphite for now.
All right. So the person asked, this was Kevin Stockard. He asked, if you're using a 2B that's as dark as a 9B, are you implying that we should be using a traditional 9B to draw this?
Yeah. If you're doing what I'm doing now, yeah. Just get dark, get crazy. If you're following along, by the way, I feel for you so much if you're following along with this, because it is an absolute, hot mess. But
Stephen, if you keep saying it, you're eventually going to convince them that it's bad.
It is right now, but we're going somewhere. We're going to arrive. It's like honestly, place the year.
I do genuinely believe that one of the best things that you can do in art is to be able to start from a mess of something and then make it coalesce into something presentable. The secret is knowing that everyone else won't know all of the flaws that you feel are still there. I think that's a massively important part of it.
Yeah.
I think that's one that came up in the videos that we did with Rimbert Montalд about ballpoint sketching. It's not a skill that I think people easily win. I think they start to like micromanage their art a little bit, but let go sometimes, be free, be messy, find it along the way.
Yeah. Follow your heart. That's what I was telling everybody in Rome this year. They were laughing at me, but I really believe it. I really, there's like at a certain point, if you don't like create a dynamic where you build your own confidence to like trust yourself, as soon as the class goes away, as soon as your teacher goes away, like your confidence is going to evaporate as well.
Mm-hmm.
So follow your heart,
Absolutely. Velvet in the chat was asking for the exact name of that Conte Alpelli graphite.
You can see it on screen. You got the Conte Alperis, the 2B graphite. I mean, there's not really a model name. I can you can look at the barcode.
Scan it,
guys. Yeah, do a screen grab and scan it out, and you'll have it.
All right. So then the question after that one, the other one I was putting to you was from Saku, saying, "I'm going to be an art teacher for children ages 6 to 16. Do you have any tips? Yeah. How should people teach art, Stephen?"
Well, I think that there's usually a combination of approaches that lead to success. I guess if I was going to give some blanket advice, I would say, like, really you're teaching art and there's going to be fundamentals, but you're really like working with people. And part of what you need to do is leave them feeling confident and leave them feeling like they can take on any challenge. I think there's, especially in the atelier world, there's this tendency to lean really heavily on like raw accuracy and like focus on making everything perfect. And I think like perfect is like the enemy of progress, I experienced this myself, where I felt. Go ahead.
That's one of my favorite phrases ever, by the way. Just a favorite quote.
Yeah.
That perfect is
the
enemy
of
good enough.
It's really, exactly, it's so true. But I would even say like the enemy of progress, like, because you're like hunting for this thing that doesn't exist, So as an art teacher, I think you need to like inculcate your students with this idea that they are on a journey, and at various points of it, they will have like, a low ceiling, and that their goal is to raise that ceiling as high as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as a teacher,
they're not going to be perfect on the first day.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I've found when I try to teach anyone anything, I did a string of Photoshop lessons teaching people. The thing that I found that I had to assume at all times was that they did not know the thing I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's going to work for half of your students. It's not going to work for the others who are a little more advanced, but always assume they don't know something, because people often will not ask about the things they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just be left behind comprehensively for the rest of the experience.
Yeah.
So there's a question here from Ari in the chat saying, "I'm untrained, but cringe. Always have been called talented. Thing is, when working, it's like, it's not me doing it, but at first I'm in the way and it's horrible. The critic is vicious. I'm blocked. Help."
Blocked. We're all going to fight a personal battle, Ari. Like, I mean, I'm fighting one right now, like I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, so everything is wrong. What do I do? I guess it's, it's not a dissimilar advice what I was saying to one of your colleagues earlier, is just, you're just going to make friends with that feeling. Like, I mean, we don't need to speak too much in metaphors or whatever, but like the analogous experiences abound. Like if you're like, I used to jog. Back when I ate carbs, I would jog because I had energy to jog. And I found like I never stopped hating the first 15 minutes of a jog. Like I never stopped. I always just abjectly hated it. It felt bad. Like I would get winded very easily at the start. But then I realized, like, the only thing that I can do is push a little bit past that. It never hurt less. It never sucked less. I just got more used to the fact that was just a part of the process, that I had to go through to get to the part that I did like.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you're going to, in time, build up a tolerance and build up a, maybe even appreciation of that like initial barrier of entry, that pain that you feel at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, do your best to just make friends with it. I mean, I remember, so this winter I had a really, really hard winter. I was writing the book, in a very compressed period of time, and I really burnt myself out, and I kind of overworked and had a long and kind of painful recovery from that. But one of the things I realized in doing during that period was that there was nothing that I could do to like feel better. I just needed to be doing things while I was feeling bad. Uh, and I mean, while that was like really tough to do, I think there's something of that experience in what we're talking about here, is that, you know, you just need to find a way to stay motivated during the tough period, until you get through to the time when it feels better, I guess.
Yeah. I
Like,
think this is,
you know what I mean? Like there's no cure for anxiety. It's just like you need to like wait for your body to adjust.
Mhm.
Like that's what I was going through, and I tried like a million things to fix it, you know, and there wasn't really any fix. It's just hold on, you know, hold on until you're all right.
Mhm. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that works both on the front end and the back end of anxiety is not to necessarily fight it,
Yeah.
to like roll with the thing, because often if you try to fight it, you just end up being stuck in that situation for a longer amount of time.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, you're really fighting a ghost, because your body, there's like a process. Anyway, for me, there was a process going on in me dealing with anxiety, and even with medication, I had to just be patient and let myself just kind of go through it until such time as it was starting to pass. You know, like there were physical things that needed to like heal. I mean, physical in the sense that like your brain chemistry is like a part of your body, you know.
Mhm.
And that just needed to, yeah, needed to pass eventually.
Mhm. There was a question, I lost the person's name, but they were essentially asking what paper is best to use with graphite. Steven, this is a wide answer. It's such a big thing, but what do you feel?
I've really tested out just about everything. I mean, I'm always like looking for new papers. In fact, when I was in Rome, I tried out another one. It was a Fabriano paper called Rosa Spina, which is, this is actually Fabriano Artistico. And the Rosa Spina feels like a Fabriano Artistico, except with less what's called the external sizing. So size is like the glue that they put in paper, and there's internal and external. External makes it a little bit slippery. Internal kind of leaves the surface a little bit more, I don't know, kind of fluffy, for lack of a better word. This is like the Artistico is a very slick surface, and I think it's okay. But honestly, in all the papers that I test, the things that you look for are, how does it handle value at different stages of value. So some will handle light values really well, some will handle dark values very well, some will, you know, erase easily, some less so. What I've found after all of this is I keep going back to Stonehenge from Legion. Not in that like it's the perfect paper, it just handles each of those types of application pretty well. You know, whereas some just, you know, they fail in some critical feature.
Now you said
I just haven't found that with Stonehenge.
You said that you want to test how it takes the graphite at different stages. Do you just mean different stages of?
Oh, sorry. I mean, yeah, I use stages probably wrong there. What I mean to say is like different value applications. You have very dark values, have very light values. Like if I'm using a 2H, can I get an even value when I'm hatching? If I'm using an 8B, can I get an even value while I'm hatching? You know, those are the things that I look for. You know, how it handles the value application.
Okay. Now, do you think that is there anything that, like, has there been a paper that's been more forgiving specifically for your process? Just that Stonehenge paper?
I just come back to Stonehenge. You know, it like for a while, you know, I used a Canton Meton paper, but I genuinely loathe it. It's just so bad with like light and mid halftones. So I'll never use that stuff if I can avoid it. And then the Fabriano Artistico, there was a student of mine that was using it, and he thought it was pretty cool. So I thought, oh, I'll give that a shot. And that's what I'm using now. I think it's okay. It only really kind of feels like it lets me down when I get to the finer points of like modeling, which is not what we're doing here. You know, this is like way further on in the process. It kind of lets me down a little bit. Whereas Stonehenge, it just behaves pretty good at all the levels. You know what I mean? Like it's not a paper that's like, oh, it'll just knock your socks off the second you draw on it, but it's just reliable. You know, it won't get in your way when you're trying to get stuff done.
Honestly, I think that's quite frankly the thing that I want from all tools. I don't think that that's a bad thing to tout as a strength.
Yeah, to aspire to, right?
So for this,
go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say it won't like subvert your efforts. You know what I mean? You're not gonna like get to a point in the drawing and go like, oh no, this isn't. You know what I mean? I can't get it home on this paper, or like where there are a lot of papers where you can't find that.
Yeah, I think that's always the thing that ends up happening when people buy the considerably less expensive tools. There are obviously some outliers that they just kick ass.
Let's go ahead. I'm gonna come out against Strathmore. All right.
Okay.
I'm legit against the Strathmore drawing and sketching paper. I think it's rubbish. I don't know why it's so popular. I think it just have like good brand awareness or something. I don't know.
Do you think well, actually here, so if we're going to talk about Strathmore, a thing that many people talk about positively, I'm curious on your thoughts on a different positive thing. So how do you feel about the Blackwing pencil?
What? It's irrelevant. It's completely a non-entity pencil. I find nothing special about it.
Yeah, honestly, that's as much as I think pretty much everyone at Proko enjoys a Blackwing pencil. It's just a writing pencil that is good for an artist. Like
it's a vibe thing. Like there's you can be like people can like the Blackwing. You know what I mean? But it's I haven't found anything where I feel like, oh, that's like so much far and away like better perform. And I mean, like legit, there are pencils that are better. Like if you ever use the Tombow line, the
absolutely
Tombow homograph, Tombow pencils are, I think, like legit superior.
So I actually had a thing. So for me, like many people, the main thing that I buy anything from Tombow for was for a brush pen, and they recently started selling them in even places like Walmart, at least where I'm at.
Wow.
And I don't know whether to trust myself, but I feel like there's something different about the pigment in them where I'm like, are the Walmart ones different? Are they making cheaper ones for Walmart? But I genuinely don't know. I feel something grumpy about those brush pens right now. What about, so while we're taking things down, let's do one that everyone pretty much agrees on now. How bad are moleskins now?
Moleskins. Ugh. There's like, I mean, it's like people work on moleskin and they do well in spite of moleskin. They do not do well because of moleskin.
Yeah, they're super convenient. They're super handy. They feel great in the hand, but they feel bad under the pencil.
They do. Speak the truth.
So enough about taking down all these tools. Unless you really have a wild hair to take down a different tool, we're
losing Proko sponsors, by the minute.
Oh, that's okay. We don't have sponsors because this stream is brought to you by the Proko Summer Sale and Steven's brand new book. Right now, you can save 20% off on Proko.com with the code Summer Sale, and that works for you buying Steven's courses on Proko. Proko.com/Bauman.
Yeah, I have the problem. I have like too many things kind of coming out right now. Like the new module for the block-in course. I just put that out on Proko, so it's mass drawing. And then I got like the book coming up, and I'm doing a studio sale like not long. Like I feel like I shouldn't talk about the studio sales. It's just muddying the water. There's too many things happening at once.
Yeah, stop being so busy. Stop having so much good stuff coming out.
It's my fault.
Yeah, you messed up. But I will say, for everyone who is a part of that block-in course, it only got better because of the mass drawing section that you mentioned there that got added to it. It's only a better value.
This is true. Now this drawing is not better. That's what the real problem is.
This was actually the next thing I was going to ask you about. How are you feeling about this?
How's it going?
What things
it hasn't gotten any
you need to
better, I'll tell
address?
you that.
You don't think so?
Yeah, it's not great, you know?
Okay. Is it anything in particular about this that's bugging you?
It's literally everything about it is bothering me.
Interesting. I mean,
I remember we had a student like years ago at the academy, like she was graduating after some, after 3 years were up, and she's in her final critique. Like at the end of every term, we do a final critique, and at the last one, I think like any really good student would do, she was like, well, all right, so now I'm going out in the world, like what should I work on? You know, like you're looking at all my work that I've done after these 3 years or whatever, what should I do? And I mean, not specific to her, but like to everybody, it's like you have to work on everything. There's nothing should be like resting in your, you know what I mean? Like if you have this sense that there's like a thing you need to work on, you need to work on like all the stuff.
Okay. Do you mean that for individual pieces or just at large?
No, just like in your career, as in your life as an artist, like if you're gonna progress, if you're gonna like realize your potential, I think you want to push all the levels up.
Okay.
That would be my feeling about it anyway.
Yeah, take it all to 11.
And this is not hustle culture. I'm not saying, like, oh, you need to do 100 pages in your.
You still there?
To raise the level of all the things you could do.
So I thought I lost
forever. You don't want to be like 60 and like you run out of stuff to get good at. You know, I mean, life is long, career is long. You got to keep yourself motivated.
I think honestly, that's that. We've had this whole rash of comments recently about people talking about just art in general negatively for themselves. Their perception of their work, their perception of like the field, all these things in general. And I don't know, it's one where I think people talking about it without considering what the path forward from those things has been destructive. People in comment sections commiserating with each other ends up being, and I do not mean this as negatively as these words sound, a pity party. But people are just talking about the negatives and the negatives and the negatives without assessing what the path forward from those things is. And I think it's important to plan your way out of the negative stuff when you are able to stop just feeling it, or even during, because maybe that's the thing that gets you through it. Yeah.
Indeed. When you're like kind of self-critiquing, because eventually that's the place we all have to get to, is where we can kind of judge for ourselves how we think we're doing. It's just as important to notice what's working as it is to notice what isn't working.
Absolutely.
I think you get this kind of false concept that like everything needs to be fixed. It's not really fixed. It's just levels, You progress in your levels, of progress in your understanding.
Yeah.
And there's good things happening in your drawing at the same time as there's bad things happening. I promise.
Yeah, the chances of you just suddenly
now there's nothing good happening in this drawing. That's different.
How dare you? People in the chat say all the things that you feel about this piece, including.
Can we? I wanted to try this on a live stream for ages. Okay. Can we just crowdsource the accuracy? Just tell me what to fix. I'll fix it.
So there was one. Someone had made a specific comment earlier. This is your chance, commenter. Steven wants you to say negative.
Unsolicited critiques have now become solicited critiques. Tell me what I'm missing.
Patrick, you need to get in here faster than everyone else. Do it. While we're waiting for that one, I'll ask a question from Christina. Would you say that your book is a complement to your classes on Proko and on your Patreon?
Oh, completely. Like it's, I've never written a book before. And so I kind of jammed everything that I've learned in like 20 years or so into it. And I mean, that's a lot of years of like studying and teaching. At the time, this could change. But at the time, I did not intend at all to write another book. So if it was going to be said in a format of a book, I was going to say it in this one. So yeah, absolutely. It kind of crystallizes and encapsulates a lot of the things that I've talked about for years in my online courses, and of course on Patreon, live stream lessons. For sure, it absolutely is.
Yeah, I think it's that condensation of so much else that you have talked about before.
Indeed.
Okay, so
and by the way, I want to say, like, I was having like real crises about this book, and yesterday my wife and I were opening up the advanced copies, and I was like, legit, it was 50-50 how I was going to feel about it. Like, I thought maybe, you know what I mean, maybe I would just see it and it would just induce another panic attack. But I can't believe I'm saying, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I think the work that I did on it, and that the people at the publisher, the layout artists that I worked with did, I think it came together, and I'm really proud of it, actually.
Yeah, I think so. Like we were talking about earlier, it's really important to keep in mind the things that you're doing well. And I think one of the best ways you can do that is by getting objective distance from something. When you're outside of it, everyone has that thing. I swear we'll get to the critiques of the piece after this. But
everybody's like chomping at the bit.
Yeah, like, I need to tell him. But yeah. No, I think every single person in this chat and in this video right now has had that experience of hating something that you made, then seeing it like 2 years later and being like, why don't I draw like that anymore? That was incredible. Remember that happens just as often as you liking the thing that you made. There's good stuff even when you think it's bad.
This is true.
All right. Are you ready, Steven?
Oh, no. It's a hugely insecure place, but okay. I'm prepared. I'm not ready. I'm prepared.
All right. So we've got, first and foremost, from Hannah, this piece is perfect in every way. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate that.
That's the velvet glove before the hammer drops.
Yeah. It's a compliment sandwich.
Yeah.
All right. And then what we've got was, oh man, I clicked out of the thing. All right. So from Post Love, they're saying the easiest fix that they see in this is that the nose in the drawing is pointing down, but her nose appears to be pointing up.
Oh, so we're seeing more of the bottom plane, you're saying? All right. Let's see if I can give it more kind of bottom plane.
There we go. So this is one way to section. This is one way to take critiques, guys. Critiques are actually a really important one. That we've never done that as a stream. A person just receiving positive critiques, well intended, because critiques aren't bad inherently, So
yes, this is actually true.
This is good.
We're breaking new ground.
We're here to do the crap talk stream. It's good.
Yeah. All right. What's next? So, what else have we got?
Strata Can't Drift says the other is a bit high, but the brow is a bit okay. I don't. Do you take anything from that?
I don't know. The other? That's got to be like a autocorrect.
A typo or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm leaving it there.
Something about the brows. I think that there's like an asymmetry in the brows for sure. But I think there's also a little bit of asymmetry in her brows as well. So I'm kind of, I think I've erred on the side of like too much asymmetry. I need to pull it back a bit. That's what I'm going to take from that one.
Okay, fair. This is a model that you work with quite often, right?
This is Alyssa. She's initially, she was from Chicago, and she used to take a bus into, when I lived in Jersey City, she'd take a bus into New York, and come to my studio and work. And then we've just worked together for like 10 years. Like now there's a photographer I work with in New York where like I'll schedule her to like go to that photographer. I'll be drawing her for like another 20 years. I don't know. I don't know. I got very comfortable with Alyssa, and then, she's got a good look.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's gotten to the point where like there was a student of mine who, doing a lot of work and working his butt off and like doing really good. and was approached by a gallery that will go unnamed, but a quite good gallery. And he had sent them some work, and they were really happy with it. And he sent them some other work that he had done from a model pack I'd released from a painting I did of Alyssa. And they actually said, like, we need to like charge less from this. This is a very derivative kind of work.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was just a model. It had nothing to do, like, it wasn't work that really looked like my work, but like it was this model, you know?
Man.
And they associated that with me and my work.
That's really interesting, though. I like that. That's a fun story. I thought you were going to say that they had said, "Oh no, this is a Stephen Bauman work. This is plagiarism. Please."
Well, in a certain way, like, not plagiarism per se, but like that they were like, "Oh, this is kind of a Stephen Bauman because you're using that model."
Mm-hmm. Is it we've got? I thought it was
kind of. I felt bad for him, but at a certain point, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool."
Yeah.
That, like, I've worked with this model like so much and so ubiquitously that like people are sort of referencing, like, she looks like my work.
Mm-hmm. So, and then Patrick from Proko says that he feels that the jaw is large and the muzzle / chin will likely work if the jaw is tailored a little bit. And
tapered a little bit. He's got to mean tapered.
I accept that word. Okay. Tapered. That fits for me. But yeah, he says that he loves seeing you work this way.
Oh, well, that's very nice. Thank you, Patrick.
All right. Bring the jaw in. So to the nose. They feel that they didn't actually specify here. You take this how you will for which thing they're talking about. They said the mouth is much narrower.
Mouth should be much narrower, perhaps.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that.
I leave this to your interpretation.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things I'm looking at, because like the edge of the mouth, yeah, should be further in, shouldn't it? Yeah.
Do you want one from your chat that I think is actually kind of in line with what you're doing?
I want my people.
Yeah.
These Proko people.
So Finn Bodkin says, Finn Bodkin first and foremost thought this was pre-recorded, and I said no. He said, "Oh snap! Well, maybe the relationship of the forehead to the right jawbone. Beautiful free start."
Forehead to the right. All right. Well, Finn, you gotta give me more than that. I don't know what that means.
Come on, Finn. Get your act together, Finn.
Finn, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I just need a little bit more clarity on what you need. Is it the forehead on this side? Maybe that's too far out.
I'm excited because
by the way, here's a rule. Here's a rule for critiques that we're going to follow. I follow with everybody I work with. We don't talk about the model's right and the model's left. It's just what's on the right or left of the drawing. Yeah. If you mean the jaw on the right, just say the jaw on the right. It's not the model's left. It's not a thing.
Yeah, dude. There was a short that I put out for Proko where I decided to go ahead and do basically screen right, screen left, and half of people didn't care, but the other half of people were the most vocal commenters. They're just like, "Guy doesn't know his left from his right." You.
How have you survived this long, Stephen?
It's a marvel. I don't get it.
You managed.
There was a time when I was a kid, also just on the direction thing.
Yeah.
So that they say your left hand is the one that you can make an L with. Your left with your finger and
I've never heard that said.
Yeah. So it's the stupidest phrase because if you take an index finger and a thumb and you put it up into an L shape, I can do that with the other one because it doesn't specify anything about which way I'm holding my hands.
I feel like this. I like that.
Yeah. Headassery.
We're burrowing down into the more core elements of the human experience. Learning right and left as a child. We all did it.
So let's see. Finn did not specify anything further, and I think that you guys
Finn, I need you, buddy. Obviously, I've got a problem here.
I think that most of the things that have been said here have been kind of like they've already been addressed because of the space. Oh, so Finn came back, said, "Okay, sorry, maybe the forehead is a bit too short."
4 is too short, top to bottom here. Got it.
And I received this criticism. I think I agree with this one.
All right.
All right. People have been getting a bunch of questions in the meantime.
Let's have them.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say, you guys, I didn't read your questions. I was looking for the critiques in there. This is the one time I'll say this during this chat or during this live stream. If you have a question that I haven't answered yet that you already put in that chat, go ahead and do it again. Do it now. Please. The rest of the time, don't freaking do it. Don't repeat your chat questions.
Yeah, well, you get that one really adamant person sometimes.
It's true.
Got to get their point across.
So there's one from a person named Leo who seemed really dejected earlier. They actually in their question said one more, or I think this. Okay, this looks like it's from them. But Leo's saying one more try. Could you talk more about how and where you learned structural drawing from?
Well, so a lot of times, when talking to students about how I learned to draw, I'll say that I've learned to draw kind of 3 or 4 times. The first way I learned to draw was like all a very visual approach from the school that I went to. It was very kind of squint down and, look at the light and the shadow, and then, just kind of try to draw just using the impression of light. I realized I kind of hit a ceiling with that in terms of like how real I could make stuff look and how how many different lighting situations or environments I could find myself in and still work proficiently. So it was after that I started studying Rodin first as a 19th century French sculptor.
Not the Godzilla bad guy?
Is it also that? I don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
No, fair. But so I started studying this sculptor, and if you've ever sculpted at all, you'll understand like structure really is about believable 3-dimensional form, right? And so when you think about learning structure, well, sculpture is only structure. You're drawing in 360 degrees, and so to me it made a lot of sense if I wanted to learn about structure to study how sculptors viewed it. So I started with Rodin, just doing drawings of his work and trying my best to kind of assimilate his ideas. And then I started to get really into Russian drawings because from a distance, and this is not pre-internet, but it's like pre-ubiquitous internet where everybody's like on it all the time, constantly. So you couldn't like just text some Russian artist and go like, hey, what are you doing? You had to you'd like find an archive of Russian drawings online. And what I did eventually was just try to retro engineer, like, how does it seem like they're achieving this? So that got me to kind of studying anatomy. Studying anatomy and studying structure aren't exactly the same thing. Like you can learn a lot of anatomy without really understanding like the 3-dimensional structure of things. I think that they're, in a way, they're slightly different disciplines, separate disciplines. But that eventually led me to starting to try to study like basic 3-dimensional forms and how to translate a complex object into a simple 3D form. That I would say is probably the pinnacle of studying structure, is understanding like how the head can conform to a box. How to understand like the dimensional kind of space around a subject. Like these are the things that structure are kind of made of. And then it was just a matter of like kind of applying that to the relatively simple field that I worked in, in portraiture. So how do you study the 3-dimensional volume of a portrait in simplified forms? Say that was like kind of structural finishing school. And of course, it's obviously a big part of the blocking course.
So there are a couple different questions here. One of them I hesitate strongly to ask because I feel like you might just do it right now.
You should hesitate. I want edgy questions.
All right. From Ronnie Brown.
I only want questions that make me question whether or not I want to answer it.
Okay. I mean, it's not gonna like wreck your being, but there's a chance that you just choose to do it now. Ronnie Brown. Do you ever smear the whole portrait?
Oh, like just smear it out? Yeah, sure. Totally, all the time.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that
I
you
mean,
didn't just choose to do it.
What's that?
I just want to make sure you didn't choose to do it. You're like, you know what? Why not? Let's just do it now.
Let's do it now. Just to prove. Well, you know, I mean, there was a time I would have done it just to prove a point, but no, of course you do it. Yeah, definitely you do it. I mean, ideally, you do composition studies so that eventually you don't have to kind of do that. You know, like most of the problems with portraits. All right, listen. All right, people, let's gather around the campfire because this is real talk.
Your solo cam.
Giving up on a portrait, giving up on a drawing is a question of belief. And belief is a question of values. So as much as it seems like a peripheral part of your education that you just need to learn fundamentals and it's not really about, you know, philosophy and it's not really about anything deep, it's just practicing boxes or whatever. Everything that you do is a part of your value system. And I think understanding why you draw in the first place, what it is we're all trying to do, drawing realistically, is incredibly important because that's the fuel that gets you through the awkward, ugly stages. It means that you believe enough to wipe out a portrait and put it back because it matters that you're doing this thing in the first place. That's where values come into play. And I say this because like I've wiped out many drawings that stayed wiped out because I lost belief in them. I lost the feeling for why I was doing them in the first place. It's because I didn't understand really like why I started, or I had lost touch why I started doing it in the first place.
Okay. This actually pairs with a different question in here. A person's name, I don't know how to say this, but they asked, how often do you find yourself drawing for your own pleasure?
I'm doing that right now. Why else would I make an absolute cacophonous mess on a live stream other than for my own pleasure?
Post love.
It's a perverse pleasure for sure, but it is absolutely 100%. I find this incredibly fun and slightly stressful.
So is it that you enjoy the process of trying to reclaim something from this just absolute mess, or do
it's a total adventure? It's an absolute adventure. It's like getting lost in the woods.
Is there anything, was there something in when you first started making art, regardless of any medium, any stage of drawing, even when you're like 8, doesn't matter. Does this relate to anything that you did when you were younger? Did you have a similar process like this?
No, I think when I was younger, I just didn't have a process.
Okay.
You know, I was just, I mean, I drew naively for years. It's probably hard to grasp, I think, for people who haven't like studied at a kind of full-on atelier, what it means to like learn to draw. Like drawing is this concept-driven exercise, and you can do it like being self-taught for sure. There's like nothing that says like that you can't do that, but like there's kind of so much information out there that you'd almost wonder, well, why would you go without that? Why would you want to do it without a compass? Why would you want to travel in the woods without a compass? So the drawing, the tests that you go through are partly about the drawing itself, like partly about a rigorous attention to not only detail but to process, but also you kind of like you're in like a group of your peers. You're kind of like testing out your ideas, like kind of, what is it, like steel sharpens steel? What does that say?
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that.
Like you're in this kind of relatively competitive atmosphere with your colleagues, which in a good way can be like competitive and can push you forward. In a bad way, of course, it can become quite toxic. But let's just speak about it as a good thing. You're kind of battle tested by the time you kind of go through these things a lot, and it gives you a certain amount of confidence that I think it's hard to come by without. And I say that as somebody like I went to university for a couple of years, and my painting teacher, though a really chill guy, was also a splatter painter and stood to teach me very little about realism. And so I kind of know what it is not to know if my ideas are good. You know what I mean? To not know if I was kind of barking up the right tree, so to speak. And testing yourself out at an academy, or testing yourself out in a very serious artistic community is a great way to build that confidence that kind of gets you through the dark night of the soul, you know?
Just to follow up on something from earlier, this is entirely unrelated. Wade the Wilson brought up something that I'm gonna refute with a different example. This is about the left hand, right hand with the L's thing. So he says human psychology. When told to hold
I'm really
out
glad we're following up on this.
This is the important stuff, Stephen. I have another one after that, but
all right.
He says human psychology. When told to hold out hands with index and thumb extended to find the L, humans will use the lowest effort looking at the back of the hand. Twisting the wrist takes more effort. Wade, I see what you're saying and raise you the debate of when you ask someone to look at their nails, that there's a well-known phenomenon of people choosing to either look at them like this way to their face or in front of them like this. One of those definitely takes more effort than the others, but it's a pretty clean split. So suck it, Wade.
Let's have some more. Let's have people weigh in on this. We need to get deeper into this conversation.
The other follow-up that I had from earlier was there are a couple different people here. I won't equate this to any one person.
Have I run out of critiques? I feel like this drawing isn't accurate yet.
No. We can revisit the critiques if you want to.
I need more.
Okay.
I need more from the unsolicited critiquers of the internet.
I will jump back into them. But first, I wanted to ask on behalf of the people who are buying the book during this stream. First, thank you.
Yeah.
But second, they were asking if they bought this book, are you possibly signing any of these?
That's cool. The special hardcover edition that's available right now is not a signed copy, though. I think probably the signed copies are really only going to be like special giveaway type thing. By the way, my signature is not valuable. It's not going to make the book more valuable, but what it will do is personalize it for you. And maybe that's very meaningful. But that'll be stuff that I think you're only going to get it like kind of direct from me in very rather rare circumstances, I think.
Okay. Is there any chance of you coming to Lightbox ever?
All right, 3D Total, the publisher, has a booth at Lightbox.
It's a big one too.
But then I found out it's in freaking Pasadena.
Yeah.
I thought it was in San Diego.
No.
I was all excited because I was going to do like a Proko trip. It's going to see Stan. Like, by the way, all my appearances on Stan's channel have turned into me like just going, I remember when Stan and I were friends, and it makes me sound really pathetic.
I like
but
it.
I do remember when Stan and I were friends. And I thought, oh, Lightbox, that'll be a chance to rekindle my friendship with Stan. But that seems unlikely if it's in Pasadena.
Honestly, I mean, you can just come down for like the last day of Lightbox, hang out at Lightbox, and then you just ride back to San Diego with Stan in his car.
We'll get a taco on the way.
Actually, he's a sushi in the car kind of guy. He gets sushi from this place, something foot. Okay. I forget the name of it. That's what he did.
I'm not going to miss a chance to bring up what Stan's first foray into business was.
What was his first foray into business?
You don't know this?
Oh wait, I do remember this. Yeah. This he had the taco rating thing, right?
He had an app that was. He described it to me as like it was supposed to locate the closest tacos like restaurant to you wherever you were, which begs the question: had he not seen Google Maps?
Yeah, that's all I think the entire time. It's existed. It's proven. It's done.
We already solved that problem. Humanity is not grappling with how to find tacos.
The last time that we talked about this, I do remember I brought up the pointless business thing that I had wanted to do. I wanted to make a website that was entirely just rating hotels and Airbnbs based on their water pressure.
Right.
Why is that not one of the biggest boxes on all of those websites?
I feel like that's less solved than the tacos. Like tacos are solved.
That's the quote. That's on the back of Steven's book right now. Tacos are solved. Okay, so you wanted critiques, right?
Yeah, come on. I need more. I know the mouth is like really effed right now.
Okay, so this one was stated as a solicited critique. The right eye is aimed slightly in the wrong direction. Should be more to the right.
Wait, you're saying the right eye. What you mean is the eye on the right. So what you're saying that the eye on the right. Wait a minute. They need to clarify because that's unclear now. Do they mean this one or this one?
Post love, let us know. We're checking back in with you if
All
you're
right.
still here.
So say it again. The eye.
The right eye is aimed. The right eye is aimed slightly in the wrong direction. It should be more to the right. And the eyelid can be a little more open. That helps. The eyelid can be a little more open. Which do you feel?
You're talking about this one. I feel like we feel it about this one.
Okay.
So a little bit more. Oh, wait a minute. They mean more open, like expose more of the iris?
I think that's what they're saying there.
Or more closed. Okay, all right. So they're saying open the eyelid, meaning we see less of the eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. And then there's
critique taken. Thank you.
There's another from Gregory Payne from earlier saying she has an extremely sharp cheekbone line between light and dark. So far, the drawing is missing that.
Oh, okay. Like, all right. So you want more intensity over here. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get intense.
Steven,
that's sharp enough for you?
Do you think that this drawing, this is a thing that you're making in your studio, right? This is a drawing you're making in your studio?
Yeah.
What do you do with the drawings that you make in your studio?
Oh, I've got a stack of them over here next to me. They just like pile up.
What do you do when you get too big of a pile?
I put them in a place where I don't have to see them anymore. I don't know.
Dude, I'm trying so hard to get you to mention your studio sale you've got coming.
Oh, right. Well, listen, all right, let me tell you this. I'm gonna tell you something artists get wrong, and this is for all of you artists out there wanting to build your career. When you do a studio sale, save your best work for the studio sale. It's not a place for you to clear out your drawers and sell people the things that you don't like. It's the place where you connect most directly with the audience to whom you are speaking about your artistic vision. Mm-hmm. These are your people. They are coming directly to you to collect your work. Save the best stuff that you have for them. So these drawings that I do, this drawing will not be in my studio sale. So I promise you, it won't be the best thing that I do. The drawings that I give great care and attention to, that's what will be in my studio sale. And Patreon subscribers, of course, are going to get a first crack at it. It first goes out on Patreon. And then sort of Gen Pop gets a crack at it as well through Instagram, through my email list, which I'm being a little bit more active with these days. So if you want in on the studio sale, of course, if you're already a Patreon subscriber, then you're in the right place. Don't even worry about it. Mm-hmm. If you're not, my mailing list is a good place to start, or becoming a Patreon subscriber is also a good place to start.
Absolutely. So we've got some critiques. I'm gonna go. I know that people here in the Proko TV chat, they have said some critiques. I want to go fully into the critiques that are mentioned on Steven's channel. They know your work. They know you.
They know what I screw up all the time. They've watched me do it.
All right. Oh, goodness. All right. So Alicia says, the jaw is a bit masculine and squared coming back to the ear.
Ooh. Okay. We need to be more curved here. We round it off a little bit.
Yeah. I will say, it definitely, there's like, if this rounds, it might treat the one thing that I'm seeing around the jaw, where I think that there's that continued C curve of it. It feels like it drops through the entire jaw.
What do you mean? It drops?
So right now,
like it goes too low?
Like I think that there's a much more pronounced C, where right now it's kind of like an unfolded staple where it's got these hard corners.
I think it's a hard corner. So you want full on
like a general roundness.
Let's just round it out.
Yeah.
All right, people. That's as round as I get. I can't go more round than that. Unless you tell me to, and then I will.
I should actually just be telling you every time someone has said that they ordered the book. Michael Jones said he ordered the book.
Yeah, Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones. It's my guy.
That's a joke for anyone who graduated high school in 2008. I'm sorry.
All right, no, I don't have anything on that.
There was a rapper who just had his whole thing was like, Mike Jones, who? Mike Jones. And then he would say a phone number for himself, Mike Jones, that you could call to talk to him, Mike Jones.
Okay, and this was a rapper. This was music that you listened to.
It's music that I heard. I think saying music that I listened to is giving it too much credit.
It's not on your Spotify playlist today.
No, it is not.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Some things, you listen to in high school and then you get rid of them.
Yeah. The other ones, they stay. They become a part of your personality and your identity, who you are as a person.
36 Chambers, man. Like, that was one of the earliest cassettes that I owned.
Damn.
I still listen. I was listening to it yesterday.
Was it that cassette somehow? Or just the band?
It's not a cassette. Obviously, it's not a cassette. I haven't seen a cassette in 20 years.
I actually recently just bought a cassette player, like a personal one, little Walkman.
Of course you did, you dandy. Why don't you just move to Brooklyn? Get it over with.
It's broken. I want to fix it.
Where do the hip people live in Southern California?
I mean, I would just go back to Seattle if I could.
Okay. There you go. Go back to Seattle, you hippie.
No, I like repairing old electronics. They're fun. You can actually like look at a thing, hold tools to it, and repair the thing. If I could open up like my phone, the chances of me actually being able to fix anything in there, so low.
Next thing you're gonna say is we used to make things in this country,
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that one. Let someone else get the pollution from it. It's fine.
All right.
All right. So Vincent in the chat says, "Oh no, you had a typo, Vincent. I can't read that. That doesn't make any sense."
Vincent, fix it.
Yeah. So Frozen Primordial in the chat has a solid
great screen name. Love it.
Yeah, it's got real Linkin Park AMV energy. Yeah, they said don't listen to the YouTube chat. There's your critique.
Don't listen to the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
They're telling you.
Don't listen to the YouTube chat.
Yeah.
Should I be listening to a chat from another platform?
Yeah. Well, we can't. Do you want the Facebook and Twitter ones? Because they are watching right now.
I'm confused by this. I'm very confused.
They're saying don't take critiques, Steven.
Get out of here. Critiques are really useful.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love you. It's great. I love that you're commenting, but critiques are super useful. You got to listen to critiques. I mean, this is just, by the way, like, this is not, critique isn't always about taste. I think people maybe get a little bit confused sometimes that people are saying your artwork is invalid if you need to change something about it. We're just saying, like, in a head study, which is what this is, what are my proportions? Are the eyes aligned properly? Are they the correct size in relationship to the rest of the face? Those things are all, they'll feel less personal over time. I think, it's easy to like feel really attached to what we do and feel like every mark is, important to you, but you do a few hundred of these, and you just think, if I can get a little bit better, a little bit faster, if I get a critique, then I'm having it. Yeah, critiques are great.
Yeah, I don't think that they have to be inherently bad. There can be bad critiques, to be very clear. And everyone in this chat has probably given one. Not in this chat, but when you've given someone a critique, you've done it maliciously. You know it. Let's see.
But we don't sanction that. This is not not sanctioning bad critiques.
I was actually about to say that I needed more critiques, but a person in the chat here came through with one. So PK Humble says, the upper lip on the left needs to lift up towards the center. The model's lips are more relaxed.
Okay, so you lift it up towards the center. I hope this is what you're talking about. So this area is called the philtrum. And what I think you're talking about is that left-hand side of the V at the bottom of the philtrum. I'm lifting that up on the left-hand side, if that's what you mean.
Okay. Amanda G from your channel says,
yeah, Amanda, you're one of my people.
The eyes need more distinction between the irises and the pupils, as well as needing the highlights for the light reflecting in the eyes.
It's fair. That's not bad. I usually save that highlight. I usually don't go highlight too early. It's like the parachute cord. You pull in case of emergencies. You put the highlight in when you're feeling really, really at your lowest ebb.
It is one of the most rewarding parts of the process. Yeah, and plus, I think if
you feel good, you put the highlight in, you go, yeah, everything works, but it doesn't necessarily. But it feels good.
I do think that a catch light like that is a thing that people really respond to. I think you suddenly see the eyes. Suddenly.
Yeah, well, that's true. She's not wrong. It's not wrong. All right, there's your more greater distinction.
Thank
delivered.
You.
Oh, it looks terrible to me though. That's why I don't do it so early, because it's like, oh man, it just brought the eye to life, and everything about the eye is like all wrong.
Yeah, I guess if you bring the eye to life, but it's the thing that says
it's like a Frankenstein monster being brought to life. It's terrible.
Yeah, if it says "kill me," you don't want it to be alive. Like,
you know what I mean? Like I'm just, ooh.
All
right.
Robo Probo in the chat says, "Where the hair falls on the ear is too low. The flow is too low.
Flow is too low." Okay. All right. We can fix that.
I really like the driving home with the rhyme. That was good. That's good.
Flow is too low.
Yeah. It was either that they were really trying to drive it home with a catchphrase, or they suddenly started tiptoeing into like toilet critique. And I'm okay with either.
Steven. You take a big swing, Steven. It doesn't always connect, but you take a big swing. Yeah. I respect that.
I commit.
You gotta commit.
Anita Shower in your chat says, "Can you please talk graffiti, Steven?" Actually,
let's talk graffiti.
They didn't put a comma in there, so technically they're saying, "Can you please talk graffiti, Steven?" Talk graffiti about graffiti, Steven.
Like who that? Like as that part of my identity.
Yeah. Is there something different?
I think graffiti's. I think graffiti's great. I love graffiti. I still think it's cool. I still think about doing it all the time. I don't do it, but I think about doing it, of course.
Okay. I share this urge. I think I try to push those urges into more positive places where I'm not doing something bad for any place. But I refuse to tell you guys.
All right. So here's the story. I was cruising around in Miami in the middle of the night with my graffiti friends, it's called bombing. Like you go bombing, mm-hmm. right? So you get your cans, spray paint, and you go out in the city at night and you drive around. You got a driver and you got people that like catch tags. So we were doing this, and I was going with a friend of mine. His tag was TV. We were acquaintances in downtown Miami, and I pointed out this one spot. It was like all these like metal pipes going kind of like in this pattern, like down this wall, like dozens of them, and all this pattern. I was like, oh, let's go get that one, And he was like, no, I'm saving that one for like a special occasion. So he like wanted to like have like a special idea for that, like one spot, Mm-hmm. And I think that like his view, like he was one of these guys that was, I think, not totally unlike myself, but like you kind of do things, but you're always thinking about why you're doing it, like it's a lot about kind of psychology and motivation. You kind of plumb the depths of an activity. But I think he really saw himself as someone who was like beautifying an ugly place. Like mm-hmm. I think he looked at downtown Miami and thought, this is gross. You know what I mean? So he was kind of like decorating it in a way, And I always loved that idea that you'd look at the city as this kind of like movable canvas, like it was always changing and things, but it would like present you with possibilities, mm-hmm. Opportunities to do something kind of interesting, artistic with it. I guess, I think someone was asking like why I'm doing this, or like why, is there anything about this approach that kind of was related to when I was younger? But I think there's that element of it, like where I want to find something gritty and gross, and I want to like extract something beautiful out of it. Mm-hmm. So that's my answer, and that's my revisiting the world of graffiti.
Okay. Yeah, I chose to do this one through photography, taking a picture of a messed up place and trying to find a way to push and pull the light to make it feel more appealing.
Yeah. Lots of different ways to go about it.
Absolutely. So I think I have a critique here.
Come on. I need it. I need it.
I think that the cheekbone that you just erased needs to go up a little higher than it is, and the space between.
You think so?
It feels like it could be that, or it could be a product of something else here. So
yeah, like is it too far out?
Yeah, it could be just a feeling of like this spatial difference.
Do you think like this point, like where the angle is breaking here, needs to go higher?
Yeah, it feels like. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually a product.
I feel like I'm putting you on the spot now. No,
this
is perfectly fair. I just want to. So we're gonna break that a little bit higher. Yeah, you know what? There is something that feels pretty good about that.
And then I think that there's something about that dark space that's on the edge of that brow there. There's darkness a little bit lower between the like basically like against the side of the eyelid or the top of the eyelid as you go farther out towards the actual. Yeah, there's a darkness there that I think might be pushing the perception of that space. Because there's a pretty wide area in there on the original.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to really approach that one in this for you, but I think that might have been pushing the perception of the two in relation to each other. Because she does have very
like heavy outline out here.
She has a very specific kind of cheekbone to eyebrow ridge. Is her face wide from the front?
Like between here?
Yeah.
It's possible. Listen, anything's possible. I think I made one measurement this entire time.
Oh no! No, sorry, not in your drawing.
Is it too wide?
No, probably. Like when you see this human, Alyssa.
Oh.
Do you think she's got like a wider face?
No. Okay. What is the matter with you, huh?
This is not a value judgment.
You're terrible. You're a terrible person, Tim.
This is not a value judgment of anybody.
Like her features, like she's not like kind of long and slender. I think if anything, I have made her a little bit like kind of long and slender here. There is an element to it. It's like that's like a difference or divergence between the two.
Okay.
Ooh, this eye. Oh my goodness.
How do you feel about the journey so far to reclaim this drawing from?
Oh, I've had a blast. I don't know if it's any good. How long? All right. So I thought I'd stream for probably about 2 hours. How are we doing time-wise?
We're an hour and 23 minutes in.
I could. Something could happen.
Okay. All right.
I could claw this back. There's always a chance of redemption as long as you're drawing.
Okay. Let's go back into some questions from earlier.
Let's have some questions.
Way at the beginning of this stream, a person asked a question of how can you draw compact lines when you're shading?
Compact lines. Shading. I like the use of shading there. I'm a big proponent of the word shading coming back into the drawing vernacular.
What is the word that it's been supplanted by?
Modeling form. All us academics, we want to say modeling. Ooh, we're modeling form now. And it's like, it's fine, but it's like, it's that thing, and everybody on my channel will know this, and this is like repetition for them, but like nobody inside ateliers says shading, but everybody outside of ateliers says shading. And I think therein lies a kind of problem. You don't lose anything by meeting people halfway and adding value to a drawing shading. It doesn't diminish the point that you're trying to make. So why are we persisting with this phrasing that is kind of purposefully ambiguous? I think academics sometimes we like to like kind of, I don't know, like make things sound more scientific than they need to. And I think that has the effect of eventually like alienating people. I really think that's true. So I'm always aware and trying to like kind of simplify the way I say something. Now there's a point at which you can say you're oversimplifying and you're losing the point that you're trying to make. And I think that's the balance that you want to strike. I'm not saying we should all just like, talk like we're day one draftspeople. I'm just saying, if there's an easy way to say it that everybody already understands and it doesn't diminish the message, like why are we doing anything else?
Do you think that it just comes from a person wanting to reframe the intention of talking about it, like as opposed to shading, saying someone is like unveiling something. They want it to be additive instead of like.
I mean, there are arguments that you can make for saying it. It's not that you can't. It's just I don't think it significantly changes the overall effect of what you're trying to say by calling it one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like there was this thing when I first went to the Florence Academy. Everybody was talking about turning the form. Turning the form, Stephen. We were all supposed to be turning the form.
Wait, was
it
it?
Sounds like this. What?
Did you like immediately at the time get your hackles up at it? You're like, oh come on, or was it something that just
I was
over
super
time?
intimidated by it. I was like, what does that mean? It must be very complicated. He's making you look round. Like it's not. Like there's no reason that we need to say turning the form. Like that's purposeful and like ambiguity that is being created by that phrasing.
Yeah, I didn't go to an atelier, so I didn't necessarily get hit with as much hoit and toit, but
it's a little bit harder. Yeah.
It was like, well, no, I'm not saying the turning the form thing. Like, there weren't as many like impossible to really condense words. Like people just said shading.
Yeah, it's just shading. It's fine. Totally fine.
We got an all caps commentary from a person in the chat.
Yeah.
So
is it worth it? Is it worth the all caps?
It's up to you. They said in all caps, and then I asked for clarification. I'm going to read it as such because they didn't give the entire thing as a new question with it.
Okay.
So there's a C dip under the cheekbone.
A C dip?
Yeah.
Wow. You're going to have to explain that one.
There you go.
A C dip?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a purposefully ambiguous way to say it.
The thing I asked
no, I'm just kidding. It's probably not a C dip. There's a C dip? They talking about this?
This is your chance. This is your chance.
You have the right to respond up until this point.
Yeah. All right, and then Robo Probo in the chat is saying, we're giving tips, but this portrait is in 1 hour. That's so freaking good. I love Steven's work.
Oh, that's really encouraging. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I need it at this point.
We did.
Ever since I brought that eye to life, it's like, wow. It's like it's killing me.
What is it? Is it? Could you like flatten it out, like smudge it out, and then work from there before adding that catch back in?
Unify. I could unify it back. It's maybe like I'm kind of stimulated also by the terror that I feel by how bad it is.
And now it's just looking at you too. The drawing's actually looking into the depths.
Yeah, like it's demanding that I fix it because it looks so bizarre.
All right, Ari, you didn't respond. You responded to other stuff in the chat here without saying anything about the C dip. So I'm gonna move on.
Give me the C dip, Ari.
In the meantime, there's a person in the Stephen Bauman YouTube channel chat.
Those are my people.
Who's saying, please talk about the career side of art. Where to start, what to learn, how to approach the art market. This is a very long topic that I'm sure that you have talked about in some other things. Mm-hmm. What would you say that a person should avoid?
I would say that you should avoid feeling like money and art are somehow opposed to each other.
Okay.
I grew up in the 90s, which makes me a little bit old.
No.
But that's okay. I've made peace with that. But it also means that I was very alive and well and in my punk rock prime for the whole notion of selling out, right? This idea that if you did something popular, you had sold out. Oh, they got a major record deal. They've sold out and their music is somehow not good anymore. Well, that's fine and good. If you're, you know, you got a safety pin pierced through your nostril. But for the rest of us who are growing up, growing older, and really need to support our families and have careers, making friends with the idea of making a living is the best thing for everybody. I look at it this way, that in fact, I cannot make the art that I want to make without money. I won't have a studio, and I won't have time. I'll be working a job. I used to wash dishes for a living many years ago. But you know what I mean? Like I'm going to spend my time, instead of like making the artwork that I'm inspired to make, I'm going to spend it like trying to make a living, which is obviously runs contrary to that end. So first of all, let's just say it's okay to make money. It's okay to think about how to make money. The next thing that I would say that's kind of important for artists to understand about their career is that you should start small. By that I mean the operative thing inside that is start. Do not like wait. There's no waiting until you're ready. There are more or less ready times in your career, but waiting until you think everything's great and you think what you're doing is perfect, you will be waiting forever and it will never happen. You'll always have some boundary a little bit further on to like push out in front of yourself so that you can justify not doing the thing, not putting yourself out there. So understand that when you do go out there, you're not going to feel ready. You're still going to have insecurity about your work. I still have insecurity about my work.
That's the stream. That's the title of the stream now.
I still have insecurity about my work. Tons of it. But no, but like real talk, I do, you know, but I just don't let it stop me from like putting myself out there. And also, you know, to come back to something we talked about earlier in the stream about when you're critiquing yourself, it's important to also look for the things that are good in a drawing. Remember that, like, just as sure as there are many things that you want to do to grow and learn, there are also things that you have learned, and you can, you know, that's a valuable and valid part of your artistic expression. So don't wait until you're ready. Learn to appreciate your own work, because eventually that's how you sell it, is by telling people the story of what you appreciate. You know, I was in Florence recently. I was reconnecting with a friend there that he was a teacher of mine many years ago, and he lives up in the hills around Florence with his wife and his kids. And he was talking to me about I was just talking to me about everything, you know, his life, what was going on, raising his kids and stuff. He said he wanted to tell his kids to like find the beauty in life and move towards that, you know, like to be able to follow that as like a beacon in life. And I just thought it was a really beautiful way to kind of encapsulate part of what the artistic experience is you move towards the things, the places where you find, you can say beauty. Maybe some people are uncomfortable to call it that or want to call it something different. That's fine. But, you know, you move towards the traction, the energy, the inspiration. You move towards those things. And you share those with others. I mean, if anything, that's what your artwork is. I think there's something beautiful in the language of drawing. Like as mad as this drawing is, and as sure as I am that as soon as I start taking measurements, I'm going to question everything about it.
I don't think you should take measurements.
Something like, stop it. I think that there's still something like beautiful just in the language of drawing. And I could talk about the things that I think are great about this drawing, despite the fact that there's plenty of things to fix and change and so on. So when you're feeling about your work that it's incomplete and that there's more growth to be had, it doesn't mean that it's without merit or validity and that it couldn't be taken to market, just because you think that there's things that could improve. People don't go to market with artwork that they feel is perfect. It never happens. I've never done it.
Okay. Yeah, I like the extraction of that one. I think you took it to a good place.
Okay.
All right. There's so many words in this chat from Ari now.
Ari.
I'm gonna try.
All right, Ari. Synopsize, Ari. Simplify. It's a core skill in drawing.
Yeah. So Ari, I'm gonna, rather than trying to actually condense all the things here, If you can give it in one, I'll deliver it, please.
You got to synopsize, Ari.
Yeah, because right now we're in a string of correction after correction. There's just the one. This is not putting you on the spot. Everyone's had this. I had it when I was trying to describe that area.
You're hugely on the spot. That's where we're putting you.
So I'm gonna go to another one in the meantime. Get down to like one that would have all the information that you want to give in this. Okay. So PK said in the chat, the tip of the nose on the left should be lighter. On the model, there is a distinct line on the bridge of her nose between light and dark.
Bridge of her nose. Bridge of her nose is up here. But you're saying the nose. Wait a minute. I need to understand this. The bridge of
the tip of the nose on the left should be lighter.
Okay.
On the model, there is a distinct line on the bridge of her nose between light and dark.
But then the bridge of the nose is up here. They're talking about the tip of the nose being lighter, and then there being a division between light and dark, and then the bridge of the nose is up here.
Do they mean that far edge, the edge where it meets, that they feel that there's a
here
darkness that continues?
I mean, it could be like I see that there's one here.
Yeah.
But that would mean to me that I would need to like darken actually the most of the top plane of the nose, kind of bring that edge out. But I wanted to avoid getting like too dark up there. But I think the tip of the nose being lighter, I totally get that. I kind of over darkened it just to kind of get it to have like a little bit of an identity visually. And probably I've just left it that way, and it's kind of reading as a bit funny.
I got you. Yeah, like it was just you were trying to treat a specific thing, and you had unintended consequences.
That is exactly what it did. Okay. The nose is a bit funky. I'm not gonna lie. I sense the funkiness in it.
Fairy Lee in the chat. Yes, this will be available afterwards. I don't know, Stephen, will this be available on your channel afterwards? Because it's up to you whether you choose to put this away or have it be a public.
I always leave the streams up. I think it's fair. I think it's fair to do.
All right.
I'm leaving it up.
Nick B in your chat says, selling out just means the art is simplified to a lowest common denominator for mass consumption.
Well,
I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't know if I want to call that like selling out. I mean, it's the same thing like a conversation about shading or not. I mean, that's simplifying the conversation around shading to the lowest common denominator. It's how people use it. And I think that, all right, let's talk about the false dichotomy between like artistic, vision and greatness and popularity. Movies are a great example of this. You can make a great movie and a popular movie. Those things are not like, what's the word? Like in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And I think Hollywood shows us that over and over again, that a truly great vision can be expressed so clearly and so beautifully that the world is able to attach to it. And I think that's actually part of it. I mean, I would contend that in fact, if you find yourself totally unable to connect, I think that this is edgy, but let's just question, let's query whether or not that means in fact that you are not completing your message. In fact, that you're not channeling the connection to other people. Like, I mean, ultimately, a value that I hold very dear to me is that I want to make artwork that connects people. And I look at artworks and artwork types that connect people. I think movies connect people. I think music connects people. Comic books connect people. I think that those are all enviable, wonderful qualities. And if I can do that with fine art, if I can do that with something as sort of weird and singular as a portrait, nothing would make me happier than being able to like connect with a large group of people. If that means selling out, or if that means that I have sold out, I'm not sure. But I think connection is part of my, the point that I want to make in my art. I want people to see it. I want people to connect with it. As many people as possible, really.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel like I'm always just like taking the thing that you say, saying I agree with it, and then adding some little like synopsis thing to it. And I don't know if is that good co-hosting? I don't know if that's bad or good.
You should, try disagreeing.
Okay. I think it's trash. I think you should like really drill down into your own personal experience If people can't follow with you,
well, right. No, that's
for it.
interesting too, because like I think that the popular idea is that art is supposed to be like this. Here's something interesting. I believe that there's a popular idea that art is supposed to be, at its core, just an expression of your unique self.
Mm.
I would contend that I think art can be many things, but I would contend that in fact a higher calling would be seeing how your unique self connects to a more universal self, right? You know, in the sense that if you are the way that you are, inevitably there are other people like you. And I think that your art is a kind of a conduit to connecting to those people and meaning something to those people. Like my people are really type A personalities that love like design and complexity. You know, and I want to make work that respects that unique part of me, but I do that because I want it as much as possible to connect with people, you know? So being true to yourself and connecting with people is not really at odds with each other. I think that you can't really connect with people truly without being true to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I put forward my devil's advocate for the other side, but I do actually, like, to continue the string of them, agree with you. There's the
damn it, Steven.
I freaking tried, man. I tried so hard. But no, I think that there's the idea of a person wanting to make something that's so unique and so special that it hasn't ever been said before because it's so specific to them. But making something that is like a hair, like it's removed enough from being so specific to your experience that other people can look at it and experience and feel those things that you felt in this is a good thing. If you just push it like this tiny little bit forward, you're actually communicating on a greater level, I think, personally. That if you spend your entire time talking about this one thing that happened to you when you were a kid, when the battery died in your Tamagotchi, it's super awesome for everyone else who had a Tamagotchi that died with a battery death. That's awesome. But you can just change that thing a little bit and make that story a little bit more broad. And then a bunch of people go, yes, when something in my life had the battery die. And then you're all talking about the time your battery died.
Yes. And let me get in on this too, because I watch really bad TV shows and I like, all right, well, let me backtrack. I watch bad TV. That's what I do. Especially when I can't sleep, I watch bad TV, but I don't even mind bad TV in the best of times. There's a show called the Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. It's not, people, it ain't good. It's not a good show. But it's about this family, right? In I imagine it's in Southern California, Santa Clarita, but wherein the wife becomes a zombie. She gets this weird virus, becomes a zombie, and starts eating people. And it's like how her and her family like cope and adapt to this new reality. Now, the great thing about like sci-fi and like
Steven, are you gonna say the
sci-fi or fantasy?
You're literally going to say the thing that I did a value judgment on and was like, nah, I shouldn't go down that road. You're going to say the thing that I was going to say. This is incredible. Okay. This is why we agree on something.
All right.
This is wonderful.
All right. So when you strip away like the science fiction, when you strip away like the sort of superficial aspects of a story, what it's about is a woman undergoing an incredibly intense change and how her and her family cope with how she's changing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, honestly, as somebody who just this winter, I mean, I went through like, I mean, when I say that I burnt out, like I was really in real crisis for months and months and months in therapy, on medication. And it was tough for me, but it was tough for the people I love too.
Mm.
Like they're obviously massively affected by this. And I'm going to be honest with you, Santa Clarita Diet, not a good show. But in fact, I really connected with it on a deeper level because that theme is inside of it. Like it's actually great storytelling from that perspective. So there can be connection inside of artwork that's not necessarily always like the deepest theming on the surface. I think we get caught up in making the deepest, who's the smartest and the deepest and who knows the most about art history and stuff. It's like, I don't really care about that stuff. Like, I just want like stories, and I want artwork that I connect with, and I feel like that's those writers, and those actors, like, connecting on a real, like, personal, deep level. And they didn't have to be, some sort of talked about something really simple and really real. And they put it in a package that I could relate to in a place that I could find it. I think all of those things are really important when you talk about making artwork.
Thank you for going down that road with that one. I didn't have a good enough thing to really tack onto it, but taking it back to a personal place is good.
Stephen, we're a team.
It's good. We're some sort of idiosyncratic nightmare.
Stephen, if we ever get our acts together, that will be a reality.
But yeah, no, I very much agree. I think it's not so bad to quote unquote sell out to make sure that the thing that you're trying to communicate gets communicated. And speaking of selling out, there's a sale on Proko right now, 20% off across the board with the code Summer Sale, which includes Stephen's courses. That's proko.com/Blocking
course, which has a brand new mass drawing module, people. Brand new.
It's a good one. It's on sale. You should do it. If you liked anything that was happening here, you're probably going to like what's going on over there, except it'll be a little more rigid and structured.
It'll be way more structured. And you'll likely learn a lot more from it than you did from this chaos exhibition.
This was a good one. I have no qualms with what happened here. You might feel differently, but
no, I loved every minute of it. But it is a little bit madness.
Ari did get back to us.
Ari, what's up?
All right. They said, so a pointier cheekbone, then a distinct concave slope underneath it in the photo.
Yeah. Between the node and the cheekbone, there is like a de facto kind of concavity. That's true. That is very true, Ari.
Nailed it. Thank you for coming back with that, Ari. Sorry, it took us a little bit to get back.
He nailed it. I don't know if I nailed
it. I think we're pretty close to the end of things. There was one question that I think we should probably bring up in here.
Come on.
Stephen, is there any way for people to meet you? They say that they've been a huge fan of you for years and years. They're hoping to see you at Lightbox, and they'll be there, but they won't. I don't know. The last part kind of was confusing to me, but they're going to be there.
Let's talk about this.
They would like to see you.
This is a topic I want to talk about. So when I was in Rome, I had a really great group of people in the workshop. I mean, honestly, I had an absolutely fantastic time working with everybody that was there. And many ideas were pitched. So there was a guy from a place called Healdsburg, which is, I think, north of San Francisco, who said that in Healdsburg, they have something called Thai tea ice cream, right? If you've ever had a Thai tea,
it's good.
You know it's delicious.
Yeah.
And the idea of Thai tea ice cream, highly enticing. In addition to that, he said, you could hold a workshop there. And I thought, maybe so, maybe Healdsburg. So I'm going to be looking at places in 2024 and 2025 to do like in-person workshops, and just kind of feeling out the vibe worldwide to see where that's the most fun to do. But there will be like places coming up pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon. The registration will happen pretty soon. There's going to be a workshop, museum in Connecticut called the New Salem Museum. What is it? New Salem Museum of Contemporary Art, maybe?
Let's find out.
Let's find out and correct that. But
Just
my
art.
wife and I will be teaching. Is this New Salem Museum of Art? Okay.
Of fine art.
Of fine art.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I will be teaching a workshop there that'll be half drawing portraits, half painting portraits.
Oh, okay.
Which should be a really fun time. That's going to be in October. Registration should open up in the next couple of weeks, so keep your eye out for that. I will be very, very likely going back to Rome next year.
Okay.
So registration for that workshop usually happens. I don't know when, actually. If I'm perfectly honest, I don't remember when it happens. But just, if you stay tuned to if you stay tuned to my social channels and stuff, like I'll talk about it. But right now it's just workshops. I mean, there's a possible hypothetical future in which I start up a studio somewhere, but that's super hypothetical.
Okay.
At the moment.
Yeah,
but if you're someone in possession of a large, beautiful space in a metropolitan area, email me.
I really thought you were gonna go through and say something about Stan for a moment. I really thought that was going a Stan direction. Yeah, like you were like, if there's a person who wants to possibly host me for something.
Oh, right. Yeah, Stan, call me, buddy. You got my number.
Actually, dude, doing some sort of show in the studio space that we have, that'd be pretty fun.
Oh man, that would be really fun. If Stan ever got in touch with me, I'll just be here, just waiting for his call.
I mean, frankly, he never even responds to any of my messages either. So we're all just in line trying to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention during this that if people do want to see a little bit of why Stan sometimes doesn't get back to you every time, there's a documentary that got put out today by the channel Slew. If you guys follow Proko, you've probably seen Slew at some point in time. I'm going to drop a link to it here in the chat. For anyone who is looking for that not in a chat in this kind of way, just look for the channel Slew, SLEW. You'll find it. Slew, Proko, you'll see it. But yeah, it was pretty fun when he came down. He was here for a few days, did a little documentary about Proko in general, a little bit about Stan, a little bit about Watts. So it was good.
All right, FYI, I just got a notification from my headphones that they're dying. So
this works out pretty well. We're at an hour 53. So if you wanna choose anything to just mention with what you've got going in this piece, you can close out with that.
What I got going? I don't know. I mean, we arrived somewhere. If I'm honest, I think this eye is a little bit too high up, like the nose ends up too long. I think that's like a fatal kind of flaw in this one. Otherwise, I mean, we grappled back from being in total chaos to being at least in a semi-ordered place. What I hoped for at the start was just to at least make it engaging to watch a portrait happen, and I think usually a little bit of jeopardy makes that more fun to see. So as a performance art piece, I think it was a success because I had fun and we chatted for a while, and I think it's a halfway decent drawing. In terms of like other stuff that's going on, the book is out. I'm super excited about it. I didn't know if I was going to be excited. Saw the book yesterday, got very excited. So that's available. If you follow the link that's on screen right now, that'll take you to a publisher link and you can get the hardcover edition. Honestly, I think probably we're a few days away from those copies selling out. So no pressure, but if you were thinking about it, like it's not going to be hanging around forever. In addition to that, obviously there's the Proko courses, there's my Patreon. You can find me all these places. I'm everywhere.
It's true.
And I hope that I'll be live streaming a little bit more, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm doing my taxes right now. It's really bumming me out. So that's what's really keeping me from being very public right now.
Yeah, that's fair. So for anyone who does want to just follow Steven somewhere so you can find out about all of those things in one whole place, just go follow him. It's Steven Bauman Artwork on most socials, but then I think on Twitter, it's just Bauman Artwork, right?
That's true. But there's also, by the way, like I need to put up a landing page eventually. Or no, we have a link in the description of this. If you want to stay up to date on like book release stuff, on studio sale stuff, it all is going to go out through my newsletter as well. So you can sign up to that, and I'll send you a bunch of free stuff. And anytime that I'm doing anything, like when the workshop, the New Salem workshop comes out, like it's going to be my mailing list first.
Okay. I guess, I don't know. Is that it for you, Stephen?
I think that's it for me.
All right.
I think we're out.
The only other thing that I should say in any way is that we're going to be streaming so much next week also. There's many, many, many streams. If you're seeing this on Proko, then right here on the channel, just go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you're on Stephen's channel, this is not where those streams will happen. You should come over to Proko.
Wait a minute, guys.
What?
This eye's way too high.
Wait, that's the thumbnail.
Oh man, I just looked over at the YouTube stream and I was like, what is happening? That eye was like 10 times too high. Oh my gosh.
This is the thing where the person asked earlier if you smudge out a whole drawing. Like,
yeah, there you go. There's your answer. Yeah, listen, when my goodness. That was like disastrously high. Listen, people, this is a PSA. It's what happens when you don't measure. All right.
It's true.
Do any measurements? Like, we're all human. We can all do like something really, really inaccurate if we put our minds to it.
Yeah, measuring, like, measure twice, cut once.
There you go.
It's a perfect phrase.
I mean, at least when it counts, when it matters, when you're doing like a commission or something, like don't mess around. Take your time in your block-in, do your measurements. Why I made the block-in course? To announce to people, to help them understand like how much you can do in that stage, how useful it can be when you want to when you need to have like a good outcome in your drawing. It's not really often going to get better than the block-in.
I was watching this. Do you think so the times when you were saying it's really important is the time when you're doing like a commission or something like that, or maybe a time when like it's going to be recorded for thousands of people to watch and rewatch?
or streamed in public? Yeah, sure. Yeah, theoretically, yes, it should be very important. But I just needed to feel something again, so I decided not to. That's a little bit better anyway. Yeah,
people in the chat they're commenting on how quickly you just like rubbed it out and then went ahead and replaced the thing.
Yeah, there you go. Listen, that's the truth for everybody's drawing. It takes you way less time to like rip the Band-Aid off than it does to like try and like shimmy an eye down by like 3 or 4 millimeters. It'll take you hours to do it if you just do it little by little.
How do you feel?
It's not a world better here. I'm not gonna lie. But there's something to it. People, I appreciate all your time. Thanks for hanging out with me and Stephen. And I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Absolutely. Go get the book. That link right there. Stephen, thank you for doing this.
This is the one. That's what you got to get.
See you on the other side.
Bye, everybody.